So as we look at this field of lentils and think, well, Shammah, what are you doing with your life? You seem to be right up to this point. It seems like you're willing to throw away your life over a field of lentils. What was so important about a field of lentils? And Napoleon said these words, "An army marches on its stomach." Lentils was a stable food and still is in this area of the world. And Shammah realised, and whoever the authorities were that sent that troop out there in the first place, they realised that if the enemy took that field, they would have the resources, the supplies and the food to keep marching and take another field. And this is a strategic war battle plan even till today. If you can cut off the enemy's supply line, listen to it. If you can cut off the enemy's supply line, then the enemy has to stop and eventually has to retreat. Because it's got no food. And how long will an army go without food? Not long. Particularly if you've got food. And this is when these battles come, that's what they come to do. They come to take ground, and when you relinquish that ground becomes a stronghold for the enemy to march further in. And this is what Shammah realised about God, about God's promise. He's standing as a child of God, Israel, God's chosen people, standing on the land that God had promised to give them. But it was their responsibility to defend it, not somebody else's. Number 6, the Lord brought about a great victory. Amen. Not just a victory, a great victory. Because one man out of a whole troop made a stand, went against the odds, confronted the enemy and said, "No, I'm not lying down, I'm not rolling over, I'm going to make a stand on this, and I realise I've got a battle to fight." Listen to that. I've got a battle to fight. It doesn't say that God fought for Shammah. Shammah had to fight himself. He had to go into bat. And that's why he's listed with David's mighty men, because he didn't roll over and die, or play dead, or become passive. He became actively involved in the promise and the plan of God. And he made a stand. The church is like a militant army of God. The church is God's last defence line here on the face of this planet. Do we realise that? Do we realise that the church is God's plan and His defence here on the face of the planet for His great and precious promises to come to pass? That's one of the reasons why the church is so good. The fellowship is great. But we should never let the fellowship or the worship or the Sunday services override the importance of what the church is really all about. It's about people joining together to make a stand against the enemy. Because when stuff starts happening out there, excuse me, just again on my little trolley for a minute, when stuff starts happening out there in the world, I tell you now, people out in the world can go to a lot of places and get a cup of coffee. People out there in the world can go to a lot of places and get food handouts. People out there can go to a lot of places and get vouchers and money and all sorts, cancelling. The government will throw things at them. Okay? But there's not many places, in fact there is no other place out there where people can hear the truth about Jesus Christ, to hear the good news of the gospel, where they can be set free, where they can be filled, baptised with the Holy Spirit and empowered to actually go and take hold of the great precious promises that are theirs. And that's what the church is